Welcome to another episode of the Built Different podcast, the podcast for tradies who are just that, built different. My name is Simon and I'm your host, along with
Ryan.
And today in the studio we have with us a high achiever, and look, without blowing any smoke up his butt, he has been through a lot and achieved quite a lot in a very short amount of time. So we would like to welcome to the mic, Brayden from Cedar Saw Building Co. Brayden, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me. It's been great.
Now, today we want to pick your brains about your apprenticeship and what it takes to be, high achiever. Like you've obviously proven that, and we'll talk to the audience about what you have achieved over your short but very successful building career. Mm-hmm. We're excited to hear about your journey and how you have landed where you are today.
Yeah.
And as an apprentice myself, I'm really excited to pick your brains on a few things.
Oh, good. That sounds good to me.
Yeah. Before we kick off today, Ryan, I've got a bit of a bone to pick with you, mate.
Okay.
Yeah, and look, I know a lot of people are listening on the podcast, but we are recording this as well. Mate, these shoes you're wearing today, tell us about them, because for those of you at home, Ryan is in a pair of steel caps that look like they have just come out of the box.
They look too shiny to me.
They're all right, I'm called out, and they're brand newies.
Yeah.
Have not seen a day on a worksite just yet.
You were close for running in the mud on the way here.
I did consider it.
Yeah.
Look, I was chased off a couple of building sites by a couple of crews because I was trying to scuff them up, but it just, takes a few weeks to wear these babies in, I think.
Mate, you're not out on the tools living the dream, so that's where it's all happening.
You know when you've worn boots too much and the toes moved up and down so many times you've popped holes either side?
Yeah.
Like, I'm now not waterproof, now it's time for a new pair.
I know all about that. No, I don't at all.
Yeah. Now, Brady, you're not out of the woods here because, mate, you're wearing a pair of very shiny RM Williams here.
I thought we were in the office, so that we'd be
fine. Well, technically we are. Yeah.
I look like more of a builder than you do.
No,
come
seriously.
on.
But how much time do you spend now in your RMs versus your steel caps?
This is probably the first time since weddings I've been wearing them.
Oh, okay,
okay. I literally don't wear them. I put them on to look good here. So.
Yeah, well, mate, I tell you what, you look the part.
Look good.
Yeah, well,
that's
good. That's good. I'm trying.
That's awesome. You have a bit of a worksite horror story to share with us.
I've got two in mind that stick out. When I think it was second year. There you go. I'm just blinging that. No, that's the second year. I was working with another guy at work, and we were putting floor beams up on the first level of this house, and I lifted up on the ladder, put it on top.
Yep.
Climbed up on the ladder, and he repositioned and threw another one up.
Oh.
And my finger was sitting on the edge of the top plate, grabbed it and just squashed it.
Oh.
Ripped my finger open. Tore my nail out. My bone was sticking out, and my finger was hanging. I was like, oh, damn it.
How long did it take you for you to feel it?
Well, that's the thing. I drove home and went to the hospital with it, but it was just all dangling. But they took it as a compound fracture because the bone was hanging out.
Solid.
They took the nail out, re-put it back in, and embedded it, and then it had.
Have you got some photos of that?
I do.
We might have to get them up on the socials, so go check that out. We'll put a content warning on it.
Have you got the movement back in it?
Yeah, it's fine.
Good as new.
It's good. It's good as new now.
Good as new.
And what's your other one?
This one was pretty average. It was actually only last year. One of the other supervisors had set up a little bit of a dodgy little ramp and was walking, and it started raining, and he slipped off the side of it and fell into a little ditch and snapped his leg, and the bone was sticking out. It was a shocker.
No,
so that was like, I'm not here. It's a safer. I don't want to be involved in this. Anyway.
God.
So,
was he the one who assembled the ramp?
Yeah.
Oh.
So I'm glad it was, I'm not glad it was him, but I'm glad it was him and not one of everyone else who was like, he had the call of putting it up there. So I won't name names or anything. Safe work.
Yeah, safe work.
Anyway.
It's on the record here, mate.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Well, mate, thank you very much for joining us. We're excited
thanks,
to get into it and to hear about your experiences. We'll jump in.
Yeah. So last year you won Apprentice of the Year, right? What was the best part about that?
I think it was a little bit surreal. Like I guess everyone goes in going, why not give it a go? Like everyone's should win or like that sort of thing if you put your mind to it.
Yeah.
But going into regionals, the Apprentice of the Year, that was that was pretty awesome. Just going like I'm against everyone here in sort of New South Wales, put onto the table, and that was a good sort of to meet everyone and then go up against them in the Apprentice of the Year and win that one, and then going on to the National Apprentice of the Year. I remember when we went to Queensland to meet everyone and do that day
awesome.
together with everyone
day
in the state, and it was just like hearing everyone's stories and just how everyone deserved it all so much. It was just like, it doesn't matter. Like, we're all here because we love what we do. And it was like, I'm fine. I don't care if I win it or not. Like,
just to get there, right?
Yeah, it was just epic. So, and then to hear my name get called out on the stage and all that sort of thing.
Were you quietly hoping, like in the back of your mind, you're just kind of playing it through?
Yeah,
and the winner is Brayden Burgess.
It was just... It was a blank when I had to walk up and all that thing, but it was pretty epic.
Yeah, awesome.
Cool.
That's so good. Yeah, mate. What's your secret? Whereas, like, you're obviously qualified now. I'm still doing my apprenticeship.
Yeah.
What do you? Tell me, how do I do it?
Work hard and quality.
Hear that?
I think that's
work hard.
Push on and have a detailed eye, because there's no she'll be right.
Yeah.
I think that's
it.
I really like the work hard part, right? So, if you have the right goals in mind and you put your mind to it, then I think that you're obviously a really good example of putting your mind to what you want to achieve and going out and achieving it. Then you can be successful, right? Would you call yourself successful?
I hope so. I think everything that's happened so far, like my life's only still so very early. But I'm hoping that it's been successful so far and leading to potentially be successful in the future as well.
Mate, it's incredible what you have achieved over. You're only 23 years old. Do you want to run through what you have achieved since starting your apprenticeship and where your life's at? Yeah.
So I finished my HSC at school. And then leading from there, I went into the Certificate 3 apprenticeship in building construction.
With HIA?
It was actually with my boss, but he was a member of the HIA.
Yeah, cool.
Sort of like that. But it was privately through my boss. And that was a 4-year apprenticeship. And in that as well, at the very start, I started my degree of construction management.
At the start of your apprenticeship?
Yeah.
You thought, you know what? I don't like to do one thing. I'm going to double down and go the uni route as well.
Yeah, that's right. So I started that at the start, just part-time while I was working full-time.
Wow.
And then completed that through 4 years. And in that 4 years as well, I actually pulled up uni there and just deferred 1 year to do my builder's license.
Wow.
So I started doing my builder's license did that over 8 months with the HIA. Did that, jumped back into uni. Kept going with that with 2 subjects, and then finished my apprenticeship. And throughout my apprenticeship, I started supervising with my employer. And running some jobs with him and learning alongside him. And then from there, was able to push in and get my builder's license. And now start a company and using that license. And
wow.
Mate, that's awesome.
Super impressive.
That's
cool.
It's unheard of in my experience. I've not come across anybody that has doubled down and done trade and the uni route as well. So good on you.
Thanks.
How have you found the construction management course compared to what you've learnt from being on the tools and now being a qualified builder?
Yeah, good. It's funny. It's different. Like, I 100% think that you have to work on site to learn. And it's on the job learning where you get most of your skills. However, being able to be on site and learning that afterwards is a good thing, because I think the construction management is focused a lot on commercial side of things.
Right.
And high rise and all that sort of thing.
Huge projects.
Knowing the basics and the sort of essentials to construction, and Australian standards. They don't change. So everyone should be using the same standards. So you can compare that sort of thing, and it's nice to have an insight to commercial. And I guess it's just my backup to know I have these skills to potentially use in the future.
No, that's awesome. And I think it's about applying what you're learning, right? And being able to take what you're learning at uni, apply it straight away.
Yeah, that's right.
And then it concretes it in, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So tell us about your company now, about Cedar Saw Building Co.
Yes.
And how that came about.
Yeah.
And when you took the plunge to go out on your own.
Yeah, I think I've always wanted to start something and run a company, all that sort of thing. It's the dream for most builders and carpenters, I think.
Yep.
Maybe not by 23,
Yeah,
but so that's impressive.
And I do think that you should try to learn as much as you can prior to making the step and all that sort of thing. And I was big on I don't want to do this until I'm ready.
Yep.
But when's the right time? I don't know. I don't know if anyone knows the right thing.
Yep. Mate, I think if you're ever waiting for the right time for anything in life, I think you're always going to get yourself caught out.
Yeah, that's it.
So I was actually approached by a guy who is building his own home as an owner builder.
Yep.
And he said, I want you to build my house. So he was like, I don't care what it takes. We'll just sort it out and do that. And I was like, man, what an opportunity.
Wow.
This house is probably going to take 2 years to build.
Yep.
It's just a massive block, 100 acres of land on this flat house, 2 stories, suspended slabs, ridiculous.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he was like, I want you to do it alongside and whatever it takes, we just want to do it with quality and all that sort of thing. So I was like, man, this is crazy. So I was like, I put down all the numbers, made sure everything was safe and was going to work.
Yep.
And I said, stuff it, let's do it. So I told my boss, said I'm going to leave next year and start this and
good on you.
go ahead with this. So,
how good.
So you've kicked off that job now?
I've been working with this guy, but we're still in council. It's
Yeah.
classic council.
Yeah.
So we're in
Bit of a
council.
process.
Yeah. But actually with this same guy, we're looking at potentially starting another company on the side later, building tiny homes.
Great.
Yes.
So I've actually started building the first one.
So that's what you're doing in between this
and
big
I'm
job
running
kicking
all
off.
little jobs and stuff
Yeah,
on the
cool.
side, and I've got this as well to do.
Yep.
So little tiny home on the side, which would be
Great.
cool, and hopefully we can start.
It's kind of it's a really emerging market, those tiny homes, isn't it?
It is crazy.
Yeah. You've built a couple of them? Or
No,
is this your
not a
first
couple.
one?
This is the first one.
Yeah,
So we're
okay.
going from scratch. We've welded the base up, and we're trying to. This first one
Is it
we're
on
doing,
wheels?
I want them to all be on wheels, but this first one just to suit his needs, because the first one is for the client.
Perfect.
And where it's going, it's better just to be on skids, which is big I-beams and stuff. So we've welded that, and the next one we'll put on wheels.
Yeah.
Just because there's no approvals. You don't need any approvals to have a tiny home on wheels.
You can drop
So
it
it
anywhere.
means anyone could have it.
Yep.
And it's just perfect. So if you're looking for a tiny home,
Cheeky plug there, why not?
So that's what we've been playing with at the minute, and the house is coming up in the next month or two. So
Yeah.
Do you think that there's anything more that you could be doing right now?
I hope. Happy to start something else.
So look, to paint the picture for the listeners as well, over this time, you've also bought your own property, got engaged, got married, finished renoing that property.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that I've missed?
No, I think you got it.
It's pretty impressive, mate. I know what it's like to do an apprenticeship, but then I've also renovated a house whilst doing that, and it's a hell of a lot. But then to be at university at the same time and to be starting your own business and thinking about all these things, my hat comes off to you, because that is that's
100%,
impressive.
100%,
it's
very
inspirational.
impressive.
Yeah.
It's been tough, but it's been fun.
How did you do that? It takes a lot of mental strength to be able to go from one to the other and keep it going.
Yeah.
Is there anything what's the motivator behind that?
Look, I'm not going to say. I think a lot of this, you have a lot of support. I've had a lot of support. My wife is amazing.
Yep.
And my parents have been so good in helping with the renovations and all this sort of thing. Everyone's putting in and helping on that sort of thing. And business-wise, my dad is a weapon when it comes to business and all that sort of thing. So he's been so helpful. I couldn't have done it without that sort of help.
So you've got a lot of good people around you.
Good support team and all that sort of thing. So that makes a huge difference. And
Yeah.
So what advice would you give to other apprentices who have been, you've been in their shoes? What's the biggest piece of advice you give?
I reckon something to think about is to work with as many people as you can, whether that's just in your company and take from other trades and that sort of thing, and absorb their ways of doing things.
Yep.
because I've noticed even with carpenters, everyone does something different.
Yep.
And you can choose what the best way is to do that and what's most efficient, but receives the most quality and everything like that. So, and even throughout like my apprenticeship, I was able to do almost every trade, and play with that and get good at it.
Yep.
And you ask questions and try and just better everything that you do.
Yep.
And work out what's the best ways of doing things and
So
achieving the best.
Do you have a tip for, maybe some apprentices out there that aren't as good at asking questions? Did you have a little, like a way of asking questions in a certain way so that, you weren't a bit of a squeaky wheel? Because I think there's and correct me if I'm wrong, but some of them will think that they might just be annoying by asking too many questions.
Yeah.
So do you have any tips around how to ask a good question?
Yeah, to be honest, unless people are just not very nice, most tradespeople who like what they do, if you say, why do you do it like that?
Yep.
Not when I say it like that, don't say why, like questioning like, what are you doing it for that for? Or you just ask the question of like, why are you doing it like that? Like how is that going to achieve what you're doing?
Yep.
And try and break down what they're doing to learn how they're doing it.
Yep.
And if they enjoy what they're doing and like what they do, most people are going to tell you why, because they're proud of what they're doing.
Yeah.
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 Does that make sense?
I've had a really similar experience that, if you are asking the right questions because you're interested and, you want to learn, you want to take that information on board, then they're happy to give you that time. And when you are an apprentice, your job is to learn and their job is to teach.
Yeah.
So as long as if you do it in the right kind of way, if you save up a bunch of questions and just don't go running it, every time you need help with something.
Just
but
pop
if you can,
it in every now
bank
and
a few of them up and then be like, hey, can I take you away from that to ask you about, X, Y, and Z all at the same time? They'll really appreciate that. But it is really good to have the right mentors and the right people around you who are invested in your education.
Yeah.
I've got a question about your work-life balance, because it's such an important thing, especially for the younger generation, or even like in this like post-COVID era. I think everyone really cares about having a really good work-life balance. How did you manage everything going on in your life whilst you were working, studying, renovating the house,
getting married?
Because I've been in exactly that same boat. And I just went through it recently, and it's a lot. And it's stressful. So how did you get through it all?
It's not easy. And I think I definitely lost some things that I loved, just in doing all of those sort of things. So I had to put some things aside that will come later.
Yep.
Like renovating the house, I lost most of my weekends because that was all I could do. And it was but I actually loved doing it. So it was like, your mates are like, oh man, you work so hard, but it's like, this is fun.
It's a sacrifice.
Epic. And doing all that, I was able to renovate the house over quite a period of time, because we weren't living there. So
that's a luxury, isn't it?
Yeah. I couldn't have done it with living there, but I was able to. I didn't have much money, so I would scour Marketplace.
Yep.
And find things. I found the kitchen we have was almost brand new.
Wow.
The person just sold it.
Yep.
I got the kitchen for $800, all the appliances,
No
and everything.
way.
Took it out and put it into our space and fit it.
How resourceful. Well done.
Yeah, and front doors, the whole roof of my shed.
Yep.
Trusses, roof sheets, everything.
Wow.
There's just stuff everywhere,
Yep.
but you just have to look for it and be patient.
Yeah.
So that was pretty handy to be able to do that, and that financially took a lot of stress off.
Yep.
So I didn't have that sort of stresses going around. But uni-wise, you just have to give it time. I would try. I was cramming a little bit, so I would get to the last minute, go, I've got to do it now.
Yep.
So then I'd sit down and pump out assessments. And construction management's good because you're not doing exams and that sort of thing. It's all assessment based,
cool.
which is a lot easier to do at home and going through lectures and that sort of thing.
Yep.
So that made it a bit easier time-wise. And then Maisie and I, we would just spend as much time as we could together.
That's your wife?
Yes, that's my wife. And then,
Yeah, nice.
Just fit work in and all that sort of thing around it.
It's an impressive juggling act to get through because there's so many balls that you have in the air with so many different moving parts are all like happening at the same time. It's crazy. It was a really stressful part of my life going through it, and I was working for 8 hours a day, going back and doing 8 hours on the renos, and you're trying to cram in as much time in the afternoon before like those noise, pissing off the neighbours with like your power tools going on at like 9, 10 o'clock at night, and then like just trying to get as much done through there. But it was a really stressful time in my life, and that's right. Like you make some really big sacrifices, but you make them for the right reasons because you know that you'll never get those weekends back, but
it's the payoff at the end, right?
Is all worth every bit of blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah. And it sounds as like, how did you avoid burnout? Like the work-life balance, to listening to everything that you're trying to achieve, renovating a house, doing all the things. Did you ever get to a point where you felt like I've got to slow down here?
Yeah, like I don't know. I've always kept moving. I struggle to sit down, like and not do much.
Yep.
But Maisie, my wife, she's really good at just saying, let's stop. Like, let's have a weekend and stop. And that was good for me because I would keep going and going if I could. But going back on like working so hard and taking away those weekends, it's so nice now that we're in our house. To sit down and go, wow, we love this. Like we made furniture and everything. Like the house is built by our hands. And it's epic to be in that now and just to have our zone and our space. And it's like we could buy a house from a project home or something like that and just be, we're not in love with it. It's not us. But everything we get to do is for us. And then finishing, it's like, wow.
But also probably the financial benefits from actually putting in the hard yards and doing it yourself. Like, and it's not easy. It's not meant to be easy, but what that will pay off in the end, like it's huge. You can't put a price on that, and you just have to be driven. You have to be motivated to put yourself out there and to throw yourself into it and just get it done.
You've got to have a real ambitious mindset.
Yep.
And an ambitious mindset you certainly have, achieving everything that you have at such a young age.
It's impressive, and I think that I haven't met a lot of 23-year-olds with that same level of ambition. And look, I think it's a bit of good context. Like you don't need to be the most ambitious person in the world, every tradie out there kind of thing. But it's nice to know what your personal goals are and how you are aligned and what you're working towards. And because that kind of gives you direction with what you want to do and, what you want to, helps you figure out where you're going. And then you can work out the steps on how to actually get there.
It's breaking down to goals, right?
So
it's goal setting essentially. And were these concrete goals that you had set for yourself?
Nah.
No, just evolved organically.
I think coming out of school, I didn't actually know what I wanted to do. Obviously, I'd done some work placements and stuff, and was like, I enjoy this. I've always loved working with my hands and that sort of thing. So I was like, I think this is a route that I want to take. So I went with it. And then from there, it's like, well, carpentry is one thing. You can get your apprenticeship and become a tradesman. It's like, but then what? What do I do when I'm 50? That's what I sort of think. It's like, being on the tools is not forever, is how I see it. Our bodies can't sort of handle that sort of much work.
That's what terrifies me. It's starting an apprenticeship at 31. I'm like, how much time do I have left? Because you see those old blokes getting around on site. It's even when they're not that old, they're like 50 or something, and their bodies are shutting down on them. They've got some arthritis or something, and you're like, geez, I'm not too far off that. How's my body going to be coping at that stage? And you're like, do I have an exit strategy, or do I have something else that I can turn this into to not just be on the tools the whole time?
I suppose it's a bit of a vision, right? You're looking ahead.
I like to have pathways.
What's your experience been with some of the other apprentices that you have worked with over your time? How have you, how do you see that some of the other apprentices around on site, and what do you think of the cohort coming through?
I think there's a lot of good potential coming out. Like I haven't seen TAFEs this year and that sort of thing, but when I was at TAFE, there seems to be a lot of people coming through, and I know quite a few tradesmen who are just on point, and that's good to see. I know there's some shambles out there as well, but I have a lot of friends that are all carpenters as well, and their quality is just, you just say, come work with me. Like, you want them to work with you, and you want to work with them because you know that after completing your job, it's just like, oh, how good does that look? Like, you just froth it because it's, so
it's good. And you see the success stories around, the people who are producing great work, great quality work, and the cream rises to the top, and you're like, oh, that's the kind of person that I want to build my house. You get them on board.
100%.
There's so many stories of like, I talk to clients and like, I've just lost all respect, like, because they've been done over so many times. I just don't see how that can be done. To be honest. But anyway.
That's it. You've got a great mindset.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. So what's next, mate?
You've
done all of this.
Yeah.
What's next?
I don't know. I'll just get comfortable with the company first and start building some things for myself, I guess. And then we'll see what's next.
Oh, well done.
Yeah.
Well done.
That's really cool. Yeah.
So we've got a couple of questions submitted from our Instagram page. So first one, how do I prove myself as an apprentice?
I would say don't prove yourself.
Okay.
You don't want to be that guy that thinks you know everything straight away. I think you will gain respect after you do things and jobs and do them, not just get them done, but do them well. And as an apprentice, I think it's the perfect time to make the time to learn. Yes, your employer doesn't want you to be making mistakes and wasting time. But I would say take more time to learn the process correctly to achieve the right goal and the right process in everything.
Because that's the time that's there for you. Like, that's where you are meant to learn. You do have that breathing space. And because as soon as you're even into your fourth year, you've got to take that responsibility on yourself. And then after that, you're qualified, and then that's on you.
So it's not about proving yourself. It's about learning as much as you can when you can.
And I would say don't prove yourself.
Okay, so I've got a question. When you think back to the start of your apprenticeship, did you see yourself in the spot that you are today back then?
No. Like, obviously you want to complete your apprenticeship and whatever you start, finish. But I didn't see myself winning the awards and starting companies so quickly and that sort of thing. I thought I was going to be years working as a tradesman and just gaining everything I could. But opportunities and other things came at me. So
you got to take the opportunities as they come up, right?
So what do you think? What makes you built different?
Ambition.
It's great.
That's perfect.
And there's no right or wrong answers in this, right? But ambition definitely sets a lot of people apart. And I think that's really important for a lot of young people who are going out and want to chase whatever they do, that this is a career and not just a job. And that you have to lean into it. And by leaning in, you take responsibility for yourself, you take responsibility for your career. And if you're serious about investing in yourself, investing in your skills and abilities to go out and be a builder and run a business, then you've got to back yourself in. There's no one there watching you, telling you what to do and how to do it. Like, that comes from you. And for everyone else to find out their own motivations and what makes them tick. If you can do that, then that will set you up for success.
So that's all we've got time for today, Brayden. Thank you so much for joining us on the pod.
Thanks for having me.
Mate, I have to say, as like another apprentice, and without blowing smoke up your butt, like, it is seriously impressive to see what you have achieved. And those kind of stories really inspire me to, on my journey. And I don't know what my end goal is yet, but it's really cool to see what you have achieved in such a short amount of time. It gives a bit of faith for me at 33 I am now. You're like, okay, in a couple of years' time, I can be somewhere like that. Which
it's
is cool.
a fast-moving industry. That's the thing. You've got to be on your toes because things move and change so quickly. So,
well, mate, if people want to follow your journey, whereabouts can they find you? Because if they miss much, they're gonna. Or if they're not following along, they're gonna miss a hell of a lot.
Well, I'm still in the early days of this company, but just remember Cedar Saw Building Co, and that'll come up on the socials and all that sort of thing.
But look, thanks again for coming in, and thank you for everyone to tuning in.
And don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Built Different Australia.
Good stuff. And we will catch you next time on the Built Different podcast, the podcast for tradies who are
Built different.